Aren't you embarrassed to splurge with your son's money? My husband and I were on a trip with our son and his wife. This trip was a gift from our son, but it seems like my daughter-in-law wasn't happy that we came with them and that our son is covering the expenses. Since our son gave it to us, I think it's only polite to accept and enjoy it. Normally, I should probably address Emily's behavior as her mother-in-law. But before that, I couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha ha, my husband and son started laughing as well because of that. Ha 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 ha, ha ha, what's so funny? The atmosphere had been tense due to my daughter-in-law's attitude until a moment ago, but our laughter changed the mood in the room. She is about to learn some facts she didn't know. I am a 61-year-old nurse, and my husband, Kevin, is a company employee. We may seem like an ordinary couple, but there's something a bit out of the ordinary about us. We have a 35-year-old son named Michael, and he is a doctor. My husband and I aren't particularly smart, so it's quite surprising that our son turned out to be so successful. We are proud of our son, who has become a respected doctor. However, I had one worry when it came to our son. Don't you have anyone good in your life? Are you talking about marriage again? I don't have any intention to get married anytime soon. But you're almost 30, you know? Don't worry. It's not a time where you have to get married to be happy anymore. As Michael said, I also believe that getting married doesn't guarantee happiness. However, in Michael's case, it's just a bluff. I know that he's been only studying all this time, and he doesn't have much experience with love. But it's impolite for a mother to point it out, so I tried not to ask him too much about marriage after Michael turned 30. He might not get married. I thought that, but I received happy news when he was 35. Mom! I'm getting married! Really? Yeah, I'm going to introduce her to you soon. My husband and I were delighted to hear that Michael was getting married. Dad, Mom, this is my fiancée, Emily. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, too. Please come in. Emily, who came to meet us for the first time, looked neat, polite, and left a very good impression. With this, my worries about Michael's marriage disappeared. However, after Michael got married, new worries arose. Even after we brought them into the living room and continued talking with her, Emily's impression remained good. I'll make more tea. Oh, Karen, I'll do it. Emily, you're a guest, so please sit. But I'll be your daughter-in-law soon. These days, you don't need to worry about the old daughter-in-law or a mother-in-law thing. Michael is marrying a wonderful girl. Since Michael has a gentle personality, and Emily is so caring like this, I think there won't be any quarrels between the couple, and they will have a peaceful married life. Sorry, I've got a phone call. You should have turned off your phone since we came here to announce the engagement to your parents. I can't afford to miss a work call, can I? It's okay, Emily. Michael is a doctor, so missing a work call can lead to big problems. I see. Michael left the room to answer the call while being scolded by Emily. Suddenly, her attitude changed. Ugh, because he is a doctor. Stop acting all high and mighty. Her voice was a bit quiet, so I glanced at my husband, thinking I misheard it. My husband also looked surprised, so it wasn't a misunderstanding. Feeling like I had upset Emily, I apologized. I'm sorry. I didn't say that to scold you. If that wasn't a scolding, then were you trying to show off your son because he is a doctor? That's annoying. Please remember that Michael is also mine from now on. I didn't mean it that way. Since he is a doctor, I thought his parents are also amazing too. But you guys are just a nurse and a company employee, haha. We can't expect any inheritance, can we? Well, it's fine because I have Michael. I was overwhelmed by her sudden change and couldn't find words to respond. Then Michael came back after the call. Is everything okay? Yeah, it was just a quick check, so it's fine. When Michael returned, Emily reverted to being a good fiancée. I was slightly terrified by the speed of her transformation, and her smiling face when she talked to Michael. After that, Michael didn't leave his seat, so Emily remained a good fiancée. After Michael and Emily left, my husband and I debated. Do you think we should tell Michael about Emily, or is it unnecessary? But it's them who are getting married, so I think it's better not to cause any trouble. Besides, she seems nice in front of Michael. You're right. As long as we keep some distance from her, it should be fine. There were concerns, but we decided not to meddle in our son's marriage. A year has passed, and our decision not to meddle seemed to work well, as our son and his wife lived their married life without any issues. However, our daughter-in-law hasn't shown up in front of us since the engagement announcement. Only our son comes to visit us on holidays such as July long weekends and New Year's. Emily didn't come this time either, did she? Sorry. She has said that she is not a big fan of getting involved with relatives. She came here for the engagement announcement because she knew it was important. I'm sure that you can tell, but it's not like she dislikes you guys. Wrong, Emily does dislike my husband and me. But since she's keeping her distance from us and we don't see each other, there is no harm for us. She's a good wife in front of our son, so their married life seems fine. It still leaves a bitter taste, though. Well, it's probably okay to have this kind of mother-in-law/daughter-in-law relationship. Sometime later, Kevin turned 65 and retired. Then our son called. Hello, Dad retired, right? Why don't we go on a trip together? I want to take you guys on a trip as a gift. Oh, but I feel bad. I haven't been very appreciative of you, so let me do this. All right, then. If you say so. I'll let him know. Michael seemed to think that I was uncomfortable having him pay for the trip, but I was actually concerned about his wife. Would Emily, who had avoided us until now, be happy to go on a trip with us? However, since my son has kindly offered to take us on a trip, I would feel bad to refuse. Besides, it could be Michael's strategy to narrow the gap between his wife, who said she had trouble getting along with relatives, and us. Even if we thought hard, we wouldn't know the answer anyway, so we accepted Michael's offer and went on a trip. On the day of the trip, Michael picked us up in his car. Emily was in the passenger seat, so my husband and I got into the back seat. During the car ride, Emily spoke mostly to Michael, ignoring my husband and me. It's been a while since we've traveled. You are always so busy. You're right. I'm always busy with work, and I'm sorry. I heard the steaks at the hotel are fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, especially the elk steaks are said to be delicious. Emily kept talking to Michael, making him feel a bit awkward. He made an effort to talk to us, but Emily would cut in and redirect the conversation. Are you guys looking forward to the elk steaks too? Yes, we're curious to see what they're like. Right. By the way, Michael, you were addicted to moose steaks for a while, weren't you? Haha. Yeah, that happened. Why did you get so hooked on them? Well, even though Michael tried to include us in the conversation, we were often left out. To ensure we all have an enjoyable time during the trip, I proposed splitting up when we arrived at the hotel. That way, we wouldn't annoy Emily, and Michael can spend time with a happy wife. Since we might bother you too, how about we split up from here? Is that okay? Yes. We'll meet up for dinner later, okay? Even though we saw Emily for the first time in a long time, her attitude was still the same. My husband and I exchanged glances after we split up, and we were as bewildered as we were at the engagement announcement. Is it okay to leave it as is? If Emily ever reveals her true colors, Michael might have a tough time. But maybe we're being too nosy. We started thinking that it might be better for our son's future if he finds out about Emily's true nature now. It was dinner time and my husband and I headed towards the room where Michael and Emily were staying. Although we had separate rooms, we arranged for our meals to be brought to their room so that we could all dine together. Wow, that looks delicious. Oh, Michael isn't here? He went to the front desk to check if we could go canoeing tomorrow. Karen had suddenly said that we should do things separately. Michael said that it's too dangerous for the elderly to go canoeing, so I had given up. If you'd told us earlier, we could have made a reservation in advance. Can't you be more considerate? Sorry, I should have been more thoughtful. It's fine. The fact that you've come along with us on our trip shows that you're not very considerate in the first place. I don't expect people like you, the elderly, to be considerate. This trip was originally meant for celebrating my husband's retirement and as a gesture of gratitude from our son. There's no way we could refuse such a trip. Yet, why is she talking as if we've tagged along with them on their trip? This felt like a direct disregard for our son's intentions. We were already leaning towards the idea of telling our son about her true nature, so, when she said this, we quickly decided that we should tell him indeed. Kevin, you've retired, right? Please don't pester Michael asking for money, okay? And Karen, please don't beg for more trips when you retire, getting a taste of it after this trip. Trips with the elderly are a mess, and we can't enjoy them. The complaints from Emily towards us continued to pour out. It's strange that she accumulated so much dissatisfaction toward us, while she hasn't met us properly for a year. Her words occasionally carried a condescending tone. Does she dislike the fact that the parents of a doctor are a nurse and a company employee so much? However, her intense focus on expressing her dissatisfaction was convenient for us. I discreetly used my phone under the table, and my husband noticed my actions. The next step was to prolong the conversation with Emily a bit. Why do you hate us so much? Do I need a reason? I just don't like you. Michael is such a respected doctor, but you, his parents, are like this. In front of Michael, you seem like a nice person. Which one is the real you? What? Both of them are the real me. If Michael is with me, that makes me a doctor's wife. So, it's only natural for me to serve him so that he can work hard. But what's in it for me to serve you? If you want me to be kind to you, then offer me some benefits. It seems that Emily determines her interactions with others based on benefits and drawbacks. That's why she is a good person in front of Michael, who is a doctor, but is cold towards ordinary people like us. I just don't understand why he treats you so well when you have no particularly remarkable qualities. Because Michael thinks you guys are important. We had to go on a trip with you like this. Don't you think Michael is amazing for taking us, his parents, on a trip to show his gratitude? I think it is amazing that he is a doctor, but I don't think it is amazing that he does something like this for his parents. Ha ha. As I was talking with Emily, I heard a faint sound of laughter on the other side of the door. As my husband and I were paying attention outside the room, we were able to notice the small laugh, but she didn't notice as she was in a good mood, taking out her frustrations on us. It might be nice for you oldies since you are being pampered by your son, but it is just a nuisance for me. Aren't you guys embarrassed to splurge with your son's money? Normally, as a mother-in-law, I should be saying something to her. However, I couldn't help but laugh at my daughter-in-law, who wasn't aware of the situation she was in. Ha ha ha. As I laughed, my husband also laughed. Ha 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 ha, ha ha. Perhaps my laugh triggered, but I heard a louder laugh from outside as well. What? What's so funny? Since my husband and I laughed, Emily was angry. My daughter-in-law was getting so angry that she didn't seem to notice the laugh outside the door this time either. You are right. We should be embarrassed to splurge with our son's money, so we should leave. What? My daughter-in-law wants us gone from this trip. However, when I suddenly started laughing and said I was leaving, she seemed flustered. I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. "Why are you here?" My son was standing outside the door. I laughed more when I saw her reaction, and my husband and my son also laughed. Ha 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 ha, we couldn't stop laughing and three of us laughed hysterically. "Why are you laughing?" "Well, I thought I was in a pure romantic love and got married. And it all seems so ridiculous." "How long have you been listening to us?" "I think it was around the time you mentioned something about the benefits of having me as your husband and all that." "You came faster than I had expected." "Well, if you receive a message like that, wouldn't you wonder what's going on?" "What message?" While Emily was busy complaining, I sent a quick message to Michael from my phone. "Hurry back." Michael saw the message and rushed back to the room, thinking something might have happened. And then, he was listening to what his wife was saying outside the room. "I can laugh at my own stupidity, but what you were saying isn't funny at all." I, too, found it amusing that you blurted out your true feelings without even knowing Michael was outside the room. But it's not funny if you plan to continue being his wife. After Michael learned about her true nature, Emily tried to justify her actions desperately. However, it was quite a stretch to push her point, which had no validity in the first place, with improvised words. "What? Am I the only bad person here? I'm just trying to protect Michael, who is a doctor, from being taken advantage of by you, poor old folks. The whole idea is off the mark, to begin with. My mom and dad raised me and they even supported me when I was trying to become a doctor. And I'm grateful for that. So I'm willing to do whatever I can if they ask me to. If you have that kind of thinking, they will just take advantage of you. My dad, mom, and I want to do what we can to help each other. Relying on each other is not the same as exploitation. If, as you say, this is exploitation, then I've also exploited them by receiving their support. Those oldies are useless for you, who is a doctor. I wasn't always a doctor from the start. When I was in school, they paid for my tuition and living expenses. Does that mean I used them for their money? Well, children can't earn money, so it's only natural for parents to pay for them. Then what if I had received help from them after I became a doctor? What? Michael currently works at the clinic I introduced him to. My son works as a resident physician at the clinic. The clinic was the one my brother-in-law had opened. Although I work at a different hospital now, there was a time when I also worked at the clinic. That's why I have both family connections and professional relations to the clinic. So I recommended the clinic to my son after he became a doctor. From my daughter-in-law's point of view, this would also mean that my son took advantage of my connections. However, it is obvious that I don't think I was used by my son. When Michael was looking for a job, I simply suggested our relative's clinic as one of the options, hoping I could help in some way. You never told me that you worked at a relative's clinic. Is this just a lie to silence me in this situation? I didn't tell you about it to avoid unnecessary awkwardness because you mentioned that you weren't comfortable with family relations before we got married. Besides, I was 26 when my mom recommended me to get a job at the clinic. Is 26-year-old person a child? Well, no, but... Emily was trying to justify, but she couldn't resolve the current situation, and her words grew scarce. I'm sorry, Mom, Dad. I didn't realize that she was such a bad person. She played a nice person in front of you, so it couldn't be helped. Besides, it's also our fault for not telling you. What are you going to do now? She had treated you guys, who are so dear to me, like this. I'll have to think well. Emily, who had become completely quiet and had been listening to our conversation without saying anything, reacted to Michael's words, I'll have to think well. What do you mean by I'll have to think well? Are you suggesting divorce over something like this? For me, this is not something that can be settled so easily. Hold on. I'll apologize. I'll change my heart and reflect on it. Even if you say you'll change your heart, You married Michael because you wanted to become a doctor's wife, and not for love, right? Are you planning to say you'll start loving Michael from now on? Besides, having old folks like us around must be annoying for you, right? That. Well, we can't discuss the details right now, so you should go back home tomorrow. Are you saying only I should go back? You can stay if you want, but will you be able to enjoy your trip? Or do you plan to enjoy the trip alone? I understand. I'll go back. Following Michael's words, Emily returned the next day. We were able to enjoy the rest of the trip without having to worry about Emily. After returning from the trip, Michael asked Emily for a divorce. It was quite a struggle over the divorce, probably because she didn't want to let go of the status of being a doctor's wife, and the divorce mediation took over a year. However, Emily gave in the end, and the divorce was finalized. Since their marriage was short-lived, there was hardly anything to divide in terms of property, and my ex-daughter-in-law walked away with a little money. Losing the status of being a doctor's wife and having nothing left must have been frustrating for her. Well, it's a self-inflicted result of thinking only in terms of the benefits and drawbacks in relationships, so there's no choice but to accept it. After the trip, my husband, who is now retired, had a trivial problem as he didn't know what to do since he had so much free time. He seems to be trying different things, looking for hobbies. My life hasn't changed significantly, and I'm still working as a nurse. My ex-daughter-in-law used to belittle a job as a nurse, but I love this job. I'll probably be able to work for a few more years, so I'm savoring the joy of work day by day.